In my last video, which was, by the way, my very first YouTube video ever, I talked about being lied to about bipolar. And the reason I picked that as my very first YouTube subject is I believe it is the most important thing that I can tell the world about. That's because if you believe that, there's no hope. And without hope, you are not going to get better. Without hope, you're not going to become whole. So let's talk in this video a little bit about hope. So the important message is there is hope. It has to begin with that understanding. Your pathway to finding mental health has to begin with knowing that you can be healthy, completely healthy. That bipolar or schizophrenia or whatever mental illness you're struggling with, you were not born with. Now, your parents and the people in your early development may have had a lot to do with you developing this mental illness, but you weren't born this way. You were broken along the way. Now, to some that sounds really sad, but if you have a mental illness, you understand why that can give hope. Because those things which are broken can be fixed. But people that are born broken are simply broken. See, that's the hope. That's where we were lied to. Mental illness isn't a state you're born with. Mental illness is something that happens to you. When I was diagnosed with bipolar, I was told that it would take 4 months for me to get my first appointment with a psychiatrist in order to receive my medication. And I said, well, what if I actually want to meet with a psychiatrist and have an understanding of bipolar and maybe look at what treatment plan we would like to have for me to overcome this? And she said to me, my doctor at a very, very good medical facility in Palo Alto, in all fairness, the best that you could buy with money. And she said, well, you're not going to overcome this. You're going to learn to manage this, and that'll be through medication. I said, well, how long will it take for me to see someone that I can actually talk to about bipolar? And she said, well, this appointment will take about 4 months. Those I really don't know. You'll have to call upstairs and see what you can find. So now I've come to know that I have a new mental illness, and not only do I have a mental illness, but it's incurable. At very best, I can take medications and learn to manage it. Well, I went home and I did what any of us in my world, in the world of IT, would do. I researched bipolar and mental illness ad nauseum. And I'll be honest with you, what I found wasn't very promising. Because virtually everything I found online, everything I found at any reputable source said they were right. What I had was incurable. What I had was something I had to learn to manage. And so that is how I began my journey. I honestly had come to accept that, wow, I beat obesity. I even beat cluster headaches. But this is something that I may not be able to beat. I may have to learn to live with. It may be part of who I am. Well, due to the long time it takes to get into doctors, and I was moving to Boulder, I waited till I got to Boulder, Colorado before I actually sought proper help. By then, I had done an enormous amount of research and had discovered that the majority of medications for bipolar, including lithium carbonate, will kill you. And that they contributed a great deal to the lack of longevity of life of those with mental illness. So I knew that wasn't the path I wanted to take. So I came to Boulder and I began to look for mental health professionals that would go in a different direction, and ultimately I found one. The first thing I discovered working with him was hope. When he explained to me that they don't really know how much of mental illness is nature versus nurture, what we're born with versus what we develop, but that he had learned that trauma played a key role in all mental illness. And what he discovered over the next couple of years through hard work was that he was right. And as I worked with my psychologist, and I continued to work on my physical health, which is absolutely paramount importance while fighting mental illness, I began to see a change of patterns. And then I developed a certain level of stability. And then that stability became a change in brain chemistry, and then I achieved mental health. But it began with hope. And it happened through hard work. It happened through facing difficult areas of my past and my life and traumas. It required being willing to change, and change quickly. So in this video, what I want you to know and come away with, no matter what mental illness you have, is you can be whole. There is hope. Do understand that they're lying to you. And most that are telling you these things, they're not telling you these things because they intend to lie to you. It's because they've been lied to also. They've been taught wrong. And in all fairness, as you know, if you have a mental illness, we're not really important. I know that sounds sad, almost pathetic, but if you have a mental illness, you get it. Nobody cares. If you had cancer, oh, now that'd be different. Or if you had some other type of heartfelt type illness that we've been well conditioned to believe in the suffering of. But see, there's no way for someone without a mental illness to relate to what we experience. And so there's not a lot of sympathy for those of us with mental illness. You know, I was shocked to discover my new business partner actually is a psychologist, and we've talked about many of these things here recently. And one of the things I found absolutely fascinating is that it wasn't until a few years ago that psychologists accepted the notion that people with mental illness feel pain as a result of that mental illness, in this case, depression. And when she shared this with me, I couldn't help but laugh. And I said, why didn't they just ask us? We would have told them that, yeah, we have deep physical pain when we go through depression. We have other types of pain when we experience other things in a mental illness. And it's not imaginary. It's real, measurable physical pain, sometimes remarkably severe. So they don't know. And most of them don't mean to lie to you. And your pastor and your priest, your mom, your dad, whomever it is that's telling you, just take your meds, stay on your meds. They don't know better because they don't know how you suffer. But I do. And you know how I've suffered. Well, I'm telling you there's hope. I'm telling you that there's not just light at the end of the tunnel, that the path to wholeness is not really long. It's tough, but it's not really long. Most importantly, it's there. You can be healthy. You can be whole. So I'm going to continue sharing my experience, how I found mental health. And as I will in each of these videos, I'm inviting you also to become part of our community. And that's really a community talking about these conversations. There's only so much we can go into in YouTube. And we really want to create a community where people, especially those that are leaders, can find the help they need and find the hope they need to be mentally healthy, emotionally strong, resilient, and create healthy places for people to work. Because as a leader, that was the hardest challenge for me with a mental illness was, I was struggling so much myself. And I hear from a lot of you that I've led over the years, and I'm thankful. But I also know that you guys struggled because I struggled. So we believe by helping leaders become healthy, we can help whole cultures become healthy. And we can create, what we like to say at 0 Point Creation, cultures of innovation. Speak to you again soon. Thank you.